there you go. You could admit all, and I'm out of.
Go ahead and get started because I don't want to short you guys on your time. We're supposed to knock this thing off at about 7:50, so we'll see where we go from there. So welcome everybody. You are in the Scoutmaster Conference class. My name is David Damsky. I've been involved in scouting as a youth for 12 years, as an adult. It's, I think total, I'm coming close to 40 years of scouting. So that's it about me. I have been a Scoutmaster. I've been an assistant Scoutmaster, couple other positions. Currently, I'm a unit commissioner and on the council board. So I've been around. So hopefully I can answer your questions about Scoutmaster Conferences, but we'll go ahead and get started in the presentation. And again, for anybody who's just joined, you're in charge of your own mute button. If you have a pressing question, go ahead and unmute yourself and call something out, but we will have time for question and answer at the end. All right, let's get going. So we have some objectives in our presentation today. I have some objectives. What is a Scoutmasters Conference and why? What a Scoutmaster Conference isn't. Who, where, when, and how. Questions through the ranks. And then a chance for your questions towards the end. All right. So, what is a Scoutmasters Conference? Dun, dun, dun. This is not an open-ended question or a rhetorical question. We're going to give you an opportunity. I'm going to let you know along the way here. So to understand what a Scoutmasters Conference is, you first need to understand, wait for it, the 4 steps to advancement. So there's a plan that BSA has for how a scout should learn and how a scout should be tested and rewarded upon completion of any rank advancement or skill. So the 4 steps of advancement. First, the scout learns. So the scout is taught hopefully by peers, by going through their written materials, consulting a merit badge pamphlet, sitting in when a skill session, either at camp or during a troop meeting or a camp out. So the scout gains that knowledge and practices that skill over and over until they get good at it. And then they have the opportunity to be tested on that. So who should do the testing? Well, really depends on the situation. If it's rank advancement, the testing should be done by another scout, a senior scout, patrol leader, troop guide, troop instructor, somebody from the Patrol Leaders Council, or a merit badge. It would be the merit badge counselor going through that information with them. So a scout is tested after the scout learns, and then the scout is reviewed. Okay, well, who does this reviewing process? Okay, well, where does the Scoutmasters Conference fall into this? Well, the Scoutmasters Conference kind of comes between tested and reviewed. So when a scout is reviewed, the intent is that's the board of review for any rank advancement, or tested and then skills are reviewed with the merit badge counselor. And then lastly, the scout is recognized. So the scout earns the rank, earns the merit badge, and it should be presented in a timely manner. We don't want to necessarily wait for a court of honor to present all the rank advancements and merit badges or skills patches that can be earned through the process. We want to give those at a scout meeting following the board of review and when the advancement report goes in. Now, you can wait and hold on to the little cards and present those at a court of honor, but don't make the scout wait to receive the item that they have actually earned. Okay, so back to my original question. What is a Scoutmasters Conference? It's a visit between the Scoutmaster and the scout that can provide a forum for discussing the scout's ambitions and life purpose for establishing goals for future advancement. Okay, this is not a testing situation. This is a conversation on where the scout is at, what the scout may have done to get to this point, where the scout sees themselves in the future. It should be an open dialogue between the Scoutmaster and the scout, free-flowing discussion between the two. The other benefits of a Scoutmasters Conference is it gives an opportunity for the scout to discuss their activity within the troop, leadership, as well as participation in the activities that the troop maybe have planned on the program side. It gives the scout a better understanding to review the practices, or how they understand and practice the ideals of scouting. And it sets objectives for the scout for the future. So, but not only in scouting itself, but maybe as a family member, as a student, citizen in the community, it's an opportunity for the scout to have a conversation with an adult, where the adult isn't necessarily a teacher or the parent. So if you think about our youth today, they have a lot of adults talking at them, telling them, hey, clean your room. This homework is due on Tuesday. You'll have a test on Friday. Hurry up, turn in that book report. It'll be late. You're going to get less credit, da, 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 da. That's not what a Scoutmasters Conference is. Scoutmasters Conference is more aligned with the Scoutmaster and the scout getting to know each other. And as this relationship develops, it gives them an opportunity to touch base and share ideas, and gives you the opportunity for the Scoutmaster to be a mentor for the scout. So, and why? I missed the and why part. It establishes trust and understanding between the scout and the Scoutmaster, and it provides the scout with the opportunity to have a conversation with an adult, as I had said. And it develops confidence in the scout, where they may, there may be some trepidation as a scout comes and asks the Scoutmaster for their first Scoutmasters Conference, but you'll see that they're going to warm up to things as they understand that this is not, a firing squad that they're walking off into, that it's just a conversation, and it's not a retesting of all the skills that they had learned. So what it's not a pop quiz. It's not a retesting. I said that. I mean that. It is, you can ask the scout, hey, what was your favorite knot to work on? Oh, would you like to show me? Sure. If they don't, they don't. It's not a skills qualification. It's an opportunity for them to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with my knots, or how was first aid? Do you think you could tie a splint on me? And the scout could say, well, sure, here, let me grab your neckerchief. I'll take care of that. It's up to you guys as a conversation to discuss these items. And, sometimes it's an opportunity for the scout to show off. It's not a time for the Scoutmaster to come off heavy-handed. You need to do this. I've been expecting better things from you from a leadership standpoint. It's a conversation. It's a dialogue. It should be optimistic. It should be forward-thinking. It is definitely not single-sided. It should not be the Scoutmaster berating the scout or telling the scout the do's and don'ts and coulds and shoulds and woulds. It should be an open dialogue. Open-ended questions should be asked to provide the scout an opportunity to speak. And you're listening to learn. You gotta have your ears open as a Scoutmaster. First seek to listen and hear, then seek first to be understood, then sorry, Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I knew I'd get that one wrong at the start. All right. It's not 5 minutes and it's not 5 hours. There's an appropriate amount of time to have this conversation as a Scoutmasters Conference. And most importantly, it's not pass or fail. So the Scoutmasters Conference, though the scout may stumble over their words like I just did with Stephen Covey, or not know a single answer that they want to give you and have just the worst possible time, the Scoutmasters Conference still has been held. So it's important that it's the fact that you're having that conversation with the scout. And again, it is not a board of review. Please let the committee and the advancement team handle the board of review. If you're a Scoutmaster and assistant Scoutmaster doing Scoutmasters Conferences, this gives you the opportunity to be the scout's friend, to be their mentor, to be their coach, not the person that sits in judgment in a board of review. All right, the who, where, when, how. Who? It's the scout and the Scoutmaster, or a designated assistant Scoutmaster, decided upon by the Scoutmaster themselves. You know, as a Scoutmaster, I had a few scouts that would come up to me and say, Mr. Adamski, I'd like to have a Scoutmasters Conference, but I want to do it with Mr. Jones. And I'd say, well, that's an opportunity that may happen, but ultimately the Scoutmasters Conference is with you and I, me being the Scoutmaster. But you know, when it comes to special requests, sometimes, you know, as a Scoutmaster, you may have a dozen Scoutmasters Conferences that you need to get to. You can't be in every place at the same time. So, and you don't want to string out the scout and make them wait too long for their Scoutmasters Conference. So where can a Scoutmasters Conference be held? It could be held during a scout meeting, on a camp out, or an outing, or at an agreed upon location. So these are interesting times that we find ourselves in. So the Scoutmaster and the scout may arrange to meet in a park. And we'll talk about the how in just a second. So, and when would you have a Scoutmasters Conference? Well, within a reasonable time of the scout requesting the Scoutmasters Conference. It's important that the scout be the one to start that conversation by saying, you know, Mr. Smith, I would like to meet with you for a Scoutmasters Conference for second class. And then you two come to an agreement upon the time, place, and how, when you can meet. The how, following youth protection guidelines, you want to do this Scoutmasters Conference in the public, but not within necessary earshot of the rest of the troop. Say if it were at a scout meeting, you can pull a couple of chairs off to the side so you two can have a face-to-face discussion. And then, as it says, within view of other scouts or scouters, well, if the Scoutmasters Conference is at a park, you want to make sure that there's other people in the park. So you're compliant with the youth protection guidelines. All right. Let's talk about each individual rank and the Scoutmasters Conference that can be held for that. So I'm a big fan of having a Scoutmasters Conference for the rank of scout. Sometimes they call this the joining conference. If you get a big gaggle of new scouts together, you know, some troops like to do it, you know, everybody at the same time, makes it easier on the scouts. I think you need, for the Scoutmasters Conference, this is an opportunity to be one-on-one with the scout. And in some ways, this is the most important Scoutmasters Conference in the scout's career as a scout, because it sets the tone of the relationship between the scout and the Scoutmaster. It should be a friendly, non-confrontational, optimistic discussion. You know, this gives you an opportunity to get to know each other from the start. You know, you can ask the scout what school they go to, what sports or hobbies they're interested in. You know, you can ask them about their family or their religious preferences, just to get to know the scout and get a better understanding of who they are. What does the scout like about scouting? You know, some scouts may have come from Cub Scouting. Some scouts may just walk in off the street and not have had an experience with scouting. It's a great opportunity to ask them, why did they move into scouting itself? Say from the Cub side, or what made them decide to walk in and become a scout? So the Scoutmasters Conference for Scouts should also encourage openness, which is so important with that discussion between the Scoutmaster and the Scout. The Scoutmaster should be somebody that the Scout feels comfortable coming to if they have problems outside of Scouting, inside of Scouting. The Scoutmaster should always be approachable. So, and this first joining conference is also an opportunity for the Scoutmaster to explain a little bit about Scouting, talk about the troop and its traditions, and how Boy Scouting differs from Cub Scouting if you've got a big pack of Webelos that have just come in. Because there are some very big differences between Cub Scouting and Boy Scouting and Scouts PSA. All right. Tenderfoot in second class. Oh, and one thing that I didn't mention, but it does show on the slide, 10 minutes maximum. You don't want the Scout to feel like they're under a lot of pressure for this conversation. So, keep it to about 10 minutes so there's not a lot of pressure on the individual. All right. Conferences for Tenderfoot in second class. Now we're going about 20 minutes plus or minus. The Scout has a better understanding of what the expectations are and what a Scoutmaster Conference is. So this gives you the opportunity to get to know the Scout a little bit better. I always liked to try to remember the facts of any particular Scout, maybe what their favorite sport was or favorite subject, what they were interested in outside of Scouting. If you're not very good at having those kind of things in the back of your head at any given moment, keep some notes on your Scouts. That way you can pull those things out when you're having your one-on-one in a Scoutmasters Conference. You do not diminish the amount of importance knowing just a little bit something personal about a Scout can mean to a Scout. As a young person, it's increasingly difficult to deal with everything that's in our society these days, especially with this COVID stuff. And for a Scout to know that they have a listening ear, somebody that they can relate to who's an adult, and somebody who cares enough to at least remember that this youth plays hockey or volleyball or badminton or whatever it happens to be, robot club, or they're active in their church group. It's the little things that count for the most. So trying to retain these facts, and it gives you a common ground to come back to having your discussions. So you should review the Scouts' progress in advancement, kind of discuss how they feel about the requirements that they went through to get to this point, favorite activity, favorite requirement, things that they didn't like in the requirements. Some Scouts, some of the Tenderfoot requirements for the personal or physical fitness side of things, some Scouts love it, some Scouts hate it. Give them a chance to say how they feel about it. Discuss how a Scout felt on the various steps they took along the Scouting trail. You'll see that some of the requirements between Tenderfoot, second class, and first class seem like they really stack upon each other. In Tenderfoot, learn a few plants. Second class, you're gonna learn a few more things and identify a couple of trees and do this. In first class, you've got a whole slew of items that you need to identify. It happens that there's the same requirements for first aid, and think about the knot skills that they need to learn progressively through those ranks. They kind of all build upon each other and come to kind of a big crescendo at first class. So, how do they feel about those advancement activities that they've gone through to get to this point? Discuss Scout spirit. Ask them what do they think Scout spirit means? Ask them what their favorite aspect is of the point point of the Scout law or aspect of the Scout oath. What best describes them as a Scout or as a person? What's their least favorite point of the Scout law? Just get the conversation going, get a better understanding of the individual. And this is also Tenderfoot in second class. It's a good time to ask them, as somebody who's been in the troop for, 6 months, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. How do they feel about the troop's program? Are they learning anything? Are they having fun, first and foremost? and talk to them about possible leadership opportunities, assistant patrol leader, possibly scribe or historian, things like that, where they can start stepping up into a leadership role, because leadership is a big key to the Scout and their advancement. So let's move on to first class. So first class, again, about 20 minutes plus or minus, following up again on the Scout school, sports, hobbies, interests, family activities, getting to know them personally and being able to share things. Again, reviewing the Scouts' progress in advancement, discuss how the Scouts felt about those various steps again along the scouting trails, reflect upon those skills that they've learned, and have they absorbed the ideals of scouting? Again, can they, what does Scout spirit mean to them? What does it mean to be reverent? How do they define those terms? Again, no right or wrong answer, but it gives you the opportunity as the Scoutmaster maybe to give them a little more knowledge to fill in some of the gaps. What does reverent mean to you? Well, Mr. Adamski, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, Tim, this is what reverent means to me. And then it gives you an opportunity to do a little bit of teaching along the way. Again, mentor, coach, it gives you the opportunity to kind of help them along their path to advancement. All right, and then again, can the Scout have ideas that can help improve the troop program? Do they have thoughts on teaching younger Scouts? Because remember, this is the transition. Once they've earned their first class, they're not a learning Scout anymore. They become a teaching Scout for Star Life and Eagle, a senior Scout, a more mature Scout within the program. They go from the learner to the teacher. Teacher's edge or learning edge, big part of first class as well. And definitely discuss leadership, both troop positions and what it means to be a first class Scout. Again, talking about the leadership opportunities and the teaching opportunities, because like it or not, they can become a mentor along this way for younger Scouts within the program. All right, conferences for Star Life. All right, we bump it up from about 20 minutes to 20 to 45 minutes. Because here you get an opportunity to start talking to Scouts that are in middle school or high school, depending upon how fast that they've chosen to advance along their trail to Eagle. Again, perfect time to start talking to them about how their life is, what's going on in school, part-time job, extracurricular activities, family. What are their interests now? They're not that same 10-and-a-half-year-old that joined. They may have moved on from hockey and become a rugby player for all I know, or maybe they gave up sports altogether and decided that they want to be the chess club president. That's interesting things to know about your Scout. You want to talk to them about their progress and advancement, merit badges that they've earned, merit badges that they're interested in earning. It's not all just about earning the minimum requirement. A lot of Scouts, they really enjoy the merit badge process because it gives them a great exposure to items that could be a potential career in the future, or a hobby, or one of my favorite merit badges, home repairs. Why? Because everybody should know how to change a washer in their faucet, right? Or be able to take care of a squeaky hinge, things like that. And it's Scouts need to have those skills in their toolbox. And if that hinge has been squeaking a lot, you know how to put a little bit of oil on it, you're going to make mom a lot happier. So she doesn't have to listen to that squeaky hinge. So the Scout will have acquired many more skills, and there you should see some evidence of more maturity as they've taken this trail towards Eagle. The leadership should be a significant topic because it is a significant requirement for Star Life and Eagle. And typically, you'll see a Scout step into the patrol leader, the troop guide, assistant senior patrol leader, possibly senior patrol leader at these ranks. So, they really will have a hand in leading the troop along their new path as they become part of that Patrol Leaders Council or leadership team. Each of these ranks involves a service project. How does the scout feel about those service projects, right? Some of them don't want to go clean up, do a church cleanup day. Some of them would rather do trail maintenance or collect recyclables. Let's see what the scout has to say on this. And then talk to them about how they feel about being a role model to the younger scouts, because like it or not, they are. All right, let's go into Eagle. Scoutmaster Conference for Eagle. So this has always been an interesting topic for me since being a Scoutmaster and then stepping back into an ASM role. The Scoutmasters Conference for Eagle, it's an hour plus. There's so many things to talk about. You're dealing with, even at 13 and a half or 14, a young Eagle, you're dealing with a scout that's done a lot in their career as a scout. It's a great chance to sit and reflect upon what they've done and what they've accomplished to this point, and let them know that, hey, they've done a great job. Now, again, this could be a scout that's 3 days before their 18th birthday. Same topic, right? They may just have a little more experience under their belt as far as the time that they've spent in scouting. It gives you an opportunity to talk to the scout about their Eagle service project and how it went, because by this point you're having the Eagle Scout Conference. You already have reviewed their application for their service project and have had an opportunity to sign off on it afterwards. So, go into more detail. If you weren't there, have them tell you how it went, what their favorite part was, what their least favorite part was, and it could lead to a lot of interesting conversation. Leadership, how do they feel that they have done as a leader within the program? How do they feel the other leaders are doing within the program? Where do they see the troop going from here? Scout spirit. Now, the Eagle candidate should really be an example to the other scouts and should be leading the way of scout spirit. That having been said, not all scouts are the ones are out there being rah, rah, go, 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 the front of the line, follow me, boys, we're going this way. We've got a lot of quiet, introverted scouts. But they should be leading in a quiet way. They should be showing their scout spirit in other forms. You definitely want to get the Eagle's point of view. This should be really open-ended questions, asking the Eagle to provide, their thoughts and where they see themselves, where they have been, and where they expect themselves to be going. And you're counseling a very accomplished scout at this point, so their view may be drastically different from your view as a Scoutmaster. You got to remember, you're an adult. You got probably 20 years on this youth. So they're seeing things from the fresh eyes of a youth, and their insight could be key to helping improve your program along the way. And it's really important that the scout kind of lets you know how they feel about the program's strengths and shortcomings and how it can be improved. Is the scout ready for their Eagle Board of Review, right? It's a big step for the youth at this point. Counsel them on what to expect along the way. And then what to do after they've earned their Eagle. Again, if you've got a 13 and a half, 14-year-old, they've got a significant amount of scouting where they can still contribute to the troops program, or they may decide that they want to move into a venture crew and spend a little bit more time doing other activities with another scouting program. Eagle Palms, how many merit badges do they have today? They still have a great opportunity to continue earning merit badges along the way and helping hopefully teach some of those merit badges in a troop setting. So all those give you ideas of some good questions that can be asked. I'm sure along the way, you'll come up with some good ones on your own as well. All right, and a Scoutmasters Conference is not just for rank advancement. A scout or a scoutmaster can request a conference at any time for any reason. It doesn't have to be a big reason. It could just be, hey, how are you? You know, long time no see. What's going on? It could be if you've noticed a lack of advancement on this particular scout or a lack of participation. You know, a lot of scouts play on sport teams or have other extracurricular activities that they attend. They may not be able to come to every single troop meeting, or they may show up late. So you want to be able to give them that opportunity to be a well-rounded individual. But if they're lacking in participation, it's a great idea just to sit them down and ask them, are they happy in the program? Are the activities and campouts not something that they're interested in, or something that they are interested in but just don't have the time? You know, again, it's one-on-one, giving you the opportunity to get to know the scout better. Scoutmasters Conference can also be called if there's perceived trouble with other scouts. If you've noticed, you know, a little bit too much roughhousing or some name calling, bullying, not allowed within scouting. We want to make sure that we nip those things in the bud. Even the perception of that kind of thing has to be stopped right away. So perfect opportunity to sit a scout down or a number of scouts down and kind of review situations because we want to make sure that we're an advocate for the youth and their safety. Scoutmasters Conference can be held for disciplinary reasons as well, which could come out of that perceived trouble that we talked about. So, all right, a lot of me talking. So now we're going to get to the question and answer spot. Summary and recap. I think we've gone over what is a Scoutmasters Conference and why, what a Scoutmasters Conference isn't, and I'm open to hear your views on that. Who, where, when, and how. Any questions through the ranks? And ta-da! We're at the question and answer time. So we have 15 minutes. What questions do you have for me? Anybody? Did I do such a great job that I lost everyone along the way?
Dave, this is Sam. I have a question.
Hi, Sam.
Specifically for an Eagle Scoutmaster Conference. I kind of view it as helping the scout at least mentally prepare for their board of review. Is that accurate or not?
That, you know, that is accurate. There's a lot more moving pieces for an Eagle board of review. It's not just going by the book requirements, it's making sure they have all their blue cards and together and signed and the applications approved and filled out correctly, that they've taken care of their Eagle project notebook and have everything ready to go for that. It's a little bit more than that too. You know, I like to look at it as giving the scout an opportunity to walk down memory lane a little bit, reflect upon their career as a scout so far, and, you know, hopefully talk about the future, where they see themselves going. You know, if you're talking to a scout that's a senior in high school and going to be graduating this year, you know, what are their expectations for life after high school? Is it college? Is it trade school? Is it just joining in the workforce? You know, do they want to continue as an assistant scoutmaster if they're going to be nearby? It's a great opportunity just to have an open dialogue. But Sam, that is a good point and an important part of a Scoutmasters Conference. But at that point, they should have a pretty good understanding of what a board of review means. So, any other questions?
Dave, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve.
I've got a comment and a question.
Yes, sir.
And apologies, my camera is down, so
That's okay.
You'll have to stare at my.
I'm not looking at
my portrait.
Pictures.
So my comment is that I got to think that the reason that BSA has the Scoutmaster Conference in as a requirement at every rank is to just make sure that there's at least some contact there from the Scoutmaster or an adult leader with the Scouts, because often the case that doesn't happen enough. And if you find yourself having really long Scoutmaster conferences, in the lower ranks, over 15, 20, 30 minutes, ended up using up an entire meeting, it's probably because you need to be doing that more often, because you don't know the Scout enough. And that's why you're trying to, you have to spend all that time to find out what's going on. So encouragement to do it early and often as much as possible. Even like you said, even sometimes it's only 5 minutes.
Sure.
And
Well,
then-
it should be more than 5 minutes.
No, I mean, if you're going to do more than one, you can just get, not necessarily the Scoutmaster Conference for their rank advancement,
Mhm.
but if you have only 5 minutes,
Sure.
then, reach out and find out what's going on, because the Scouts are the only ones that are going to tell you how they're doing in the program. You're not going to find out from the parents.
Understood.
Yeah.
Right. It's that open discussion between you as an adult leader and them as a youth within the program.
Correct. And that's what they need to get used to. And like Sam was saying, if you're going to prep them for a BOR, for the board of review, especially for Eagle, the more times that they feel comfortable talking with an adult, the better.
Absolutely.
So my question is, it's I don't know if it's how common it is, but it's more widespread than a lot, as far as it's not a test, but it becomes one because as a Scoutmaster, you feel responsible that if they're advancing and they don't know their stuff, or they don't even have their skills up through first class, it's almost like you feel the failure, because
Sure.
it's your responsibility to make sure
Yeah.
that happens, even if it's youth led and youth trained.
Mhm.
So you don't feel comfortable advancing unless you know that they know their stuff.
Right.
But when you get into that rut, when it's not supposed to be a test,
Right.
what would you say to adult leaders and to Scoutmasters how to get out of that?
You gotta break the chain. So as having been a Scoutmaster for a number of years, that's how I would run a Scoutmasters Conference. It would be a retesting of the requirements along the way. That's not the way it should have been. So in the guide to advancement, it discusses a lot of different aspects of the Scoutmasters Conference and how to deal with youth that may not necessarily know their stuff, quote unquote. But the troop leaders guide really does a good job of talking about what a Scoutmasters Conference should be, and that information is taken back from the Scoutmasters Handbook of days of old, which goes back, I think the last printing was in 2012. But it really talks about that it's not a retesting time. Is a Scout going to lose the knowledge on how to tie a square knot? Possibly. Some Scouts are not good under pressure. Some Scouts don't take tests well. Some Scouts could sit there and practice for an hour right before and then get stage fright before they jump into the Scoutmasters Conference. So it's not a retesting. Now, you can ask them what their favorite knot is and would they like to tie it for you, and they can tell you no, and that's okay, right? And the idea is they've already learned the skill, and then they've been tested on this skill. You're not the gatekeeper. As a Scoutmaster, as an assistant Scoutmaster, you're there to have a conversation with them. Now, hey, if they need to brush up on their skills, one thing, when I was a Scoutmaster and a Scout would say, well, Mr. Damsky, I really don't know how to tie that square lashing. Can I look at my book? I would say absolutely, because that's knowing and using your resources, right? Again, you may not remember how to tie a square lashing when you have to at a camporee. That's all right. That's okay. Nobody's going to die over it, right? But we want those scouts to learn those skills and be able to teach those skills. Some of them, once they tie it for the first time, they'll tie it the same way forever and ever and ever, and they'll be able to teach from that. Some of them will always have to refer to the book, and as soon as they walk out of the scout meeting, they will not know how to tie a square lashing. That's okay as well.
So you'd say then that the real trick to breaking that chain, since you cannot test, is not to try to wind down testing or do one more last test or something to bring them up, but really it's to go back to providing them the opportunity for those skills.
Correct.
So that they don't forget them in the first place.
Correct.
So because without those opportunities, yeah, you're right, everybody would forget them.
The Troop Leaders Guide is not available as a PDF online, like most of our scouting resources.
It should be.
It should be. I feel very strongly that it should be. If you're going to buy it, Volume 1 is the one that deals with Scoutmaster Conferences and talks about the advancement process and what a scout needs to do for a board of review.
You only need one, and in fact, that's what we did for my unit.
Yeah.
We bought both volumes and then created our own adult library.
Sure.
So that everybody has access to that, because you're
Make
right.
your own
It should be available to everybody. It should be a downloaded PDF,
Right.
just like many other things. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of info in there.
You know, and Steve, you bring up a lot of good points that should be shared with the Scoutmaster and a Scoutmasters meeting. If there's not a meeting of the minds on this, there should be a discussion with the adult leadership team on that. So there was one question, Amy, you had a question regarding specifically with Troop 233. Did you want to talk about that with the general group, or did you want to take that offline?
It doesn't, either way. My comment was Dave's presentation seemed to describe what our board of reviews are like in our troop and not what our Scoutmaster conferences are.
Right, and I think
So
that's
what I'm like, okay, and Steve's kind of hitting on that right now, so I'm just trying to navigate here a little bit. And I have an older son who was under Mr. Damsky, and I have a younger son still in the troop, and I've seen our troop go from, my son's Eagle Scoutmaster Conference was 3.5 hours.
Yep.
But that 3.5 hours, I mean, he was skills and knots and lashings, but it was also on life goals and ambitions and where do you put yourself. And then it was, let's make sure your blue cards are in order. Let's check your application. So all of that was done during the Eagle Scoutmaster Conference. We don't do any of that in our board of reviews. Our board of reviews are more getting to know the scout, what do you do outside of scouting? What's your favorite sport? What are your hobbies? And so that's where I'm a little confused on. Yeah, we do that for Scoutmaster Conference, but not so. I'm not looking for testing.
Right.
Like Steve said, I'm just more concerned that I would feel terrible if these scouts are advancing and they're not really knowledgeable in the rank that they're achieving. And so it wouldn't, and I'm a teacher. So I mean, it's just, but that's what I do. So if for me, it's not necessarily testing the scout, it's more kind of reviewing like, hey, walk me through this. How would you do this? And then if they don't get some of the points, I would bring it up, and it's more of a two-way conversation.
Right.
And it's kind of reviewing to be like, yeah, that's awesome. You got it. Okay. You're missing a couple things. Think about this next time, going through that way. So is that okay to do?
Yeah.
Not necessarily testing them. I'm kind of reviewing. I just pick different points here and there, depending on what rank it is.
Sure. Yeah. It's a hard pill for me to swallow as a former Scoutmaster, knowing that it's way different. It's supposed to be way different, and I'll tell you, it was a hard pill to swallow. And that's why do you think I'm teaching this class now? Because I want others to know that, hey, it isn't a test It's not test taking time. You know, would I ask scouts to come back as a scoutmaster during a Scoutmasters conference? Would I ask scouts, I think you need to come back next week and do this again? I would. And that's a pass or fail. And it's shame on me, but this was also 10 years ago.
Yeah, Taylor
really that old?
He's 20. Well, he's going to be 24 in January. So
Jeez
yeah.
Louise. All right. So we want to move forward in a positive light. And we need to remember that scouting is a safe place to fail. And
absolutely. That's they need to learn to fail to be able to learn and grow.
Exactly.
You know? So,
exactly. Yeah. And, you know, there's always going to be something that scout excels in. That is the point that you can really have them crow about. You know, some scouts, as soon as they hit environmental science or hit the nature lodge at summer camp, the world opens up to them. This is okay. My gosh, this is my love of nature is really something that I can embrace. Get them talking about trees, plants, mammals, what have you. There's your conversation. Can they tie a square knot? Not to save their life, right? They're the ones with the Velcro shoelaces, you know? So we're going to deal with the youth that we can, and we're going to support them as best we can. So
what are you saying then would be happening during the border review then? Is it kind of same of what we just did in the Scoutmaster Conference?
It is, but it's with different adults. So the key point through this whole thing is, I know there's some units that do Scoutmaster conferences where there's a number of assistant Scoutmasters or a couple of adults that are there, and it's a panel Scoutmasters conference. I don't think that's good. I think the Scoutmasters conference should be one-on-one, because you're really giving that scout an opportunity to potentially vent, right? And that's not something that they want to do in front of everybody for fear of, you know, the committee chair saying, oh, I don't like that kid now, or, you know, what have you. It's giving them an open forum to speak. The board of review can be 3, 4, 5. You know, I've seen boards up to 8 people. That's intimidating for some youth. For some of them, not a big deal. They'll jump in front of a, you know, crowd full of people and start telling everybody what they can do.
But I will tell you, the border review and having that panel of adults coming from my older scout who said between job interviews, and he did a congressional nomination interview for the academy.
Nice.
Said piece of cake because of my border reviews, because I would have been in front of adults and I answered questions
Right.
just so it was nothing. It was so easy. So that's what I love about the border reviews, is it gets them confident in themselves to be able to talk to multiple adults at once and answer questions.
And that's the beauty of scouting as it is with, okay, the one-on-one, whether it's an ASM or a Scoutmaster with the scout, it gives that scout exposure and the comfort level to speak to adults, you know. And then we start moving into the merit badges, and they're having, you know, it may be somebody within your own troop program, it could be somebody outside of it, it could be a camp counselor that they're dealing with. This gives them the platform really to start to shine and feel very comfortable and confident in themselves. And it's such a great thing to hear. Piece of cake, you know, once you've done an Eagle Scout board of review, oh, okay, no big deal. Job interview, got it, unlock, not a big deal. So we kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but I think that was a really good conversation for the general group. Are there any last questions as we start to count down the last couple of minutes here? Okay. That's easy. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if we're doing reviews or surveys afterwards, but if you liked it, my name is David Damsky. If you didn't like it, my name is Alan Wolfson. I'll be here all day. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you learned a little something from this. So take care, everybody.
Okay,
and
thank you, Dave.
I'll try to respond to things in chat if for the last couple of minutes here.
Oh, can we have the copy of the slides, Dave?
Of course. So let me type my email into the chat, And that way you got it. And everyone. And just drop me a quick email and I will send you a copy of the presentation. Yeah, and so, yeah, for your troop that may still be testing, take this presentation, get a copy of the Troop Leaders Guide, Volume 1, and have a conversation with the adults. So thank you, everybody. I hope all this helped. And if there's any last couple questions in there, Board of Review is also a chance for Scouts to talk about the program side of the troop. Exactly, without the Scoutmaster being there. Really good point, Sam. Really good point. Scoutmaster learns what's going on with the Scout. Exactly. Thank you, Steve. Mike. Board of Review, the committee learns how the program is working for the Scout. Another good point, Steve. Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Bunch of thank yous. Send me an email if you want a copy of the presentation. Again, if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to stop sharing and boot you all out of the room. So hope you guys had a good one. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome.